Welcome back to another episode of LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, the team from Virtual Programming continue to update their moon technology. Unfortunately, that ship organ has sailed. Quap buys a bike. The results are predictable, and NVIDIA 970 seem to have an issue with, something, I forget.
Daikatana gets open sourced. Get ready to make John Romero your bitch. In Mind lets you experience the inside of your brain. Good thing it's free, because there isn't anything in there. And it's a TARP! Dark Forces gets the Linux on the GOGs.
Caesarea goes on early access, and it drives in the nail on my previous point about early access games. NVIDIA releases the 960. Cleverly filling up the mainstream gap left between the 750 Ti and the 970. Wine version 1.7.35. It's OpenGL to the core, baby.
I'm Vince Stone here at LGC Actual, joined by our tame Canadian podcaster up in Canaria land and all the way from space, Portugal.
Not tamed.
Not tamed at all. Pedro P-Man, and together with Shatrealm Dynamic Live, we form a bit of a cocaine Voltron. Before we get started, we always like to see what's going on in each other's magnificent life organ.
I heard you had to put together some old Legos.
I'm just going to make this short and sweet because my anger, I can't reaccess that because I don't need to vibrate during this episode.
But that's the sexiest part.
I don't care if you're an HCE. Been that, done that. If you see a Starfire E10K series laying around, it's broken, stay the fuck away with it. Call somebody who knows what they're doing, because I end up getting that third call going, and writing a fucking check 7 hours later. That's brilliant. And here's another thing. Steam. Gaben, we love you, baby. But sometimes I want you to have, just trust me on this one download option, because sometimes I just want the Windows content to play a game that has an open source port now. Do that for me.
Didn't you try using the command line client?
Yeah, I know that's a thing. I absolutely know that's a thing. I don't want to fucking close Steam. Do that. Boom. I just want a button say, give me content. What's up, baby?
Well, I got a free copy from McDonald's. That's exciting.
I'm getting old, man.
I know. Nothing really heavy. And I built a nice big honkin' server this week. That was fun.
Get all the cores you wanted. Yeah.
Not eventful.
So,
what about this clown? How was dinner?
Yeah,
dinner was pretty good. It's those fancy restaurants and their gourmet dinners. I'm just kind of glad I filled up on the things before the meal actual. I can't remember the English word for it. The appetizers, yes. I kind of filled up on those, so did you give the maitre d' a reach around?
I mean, that's usually the custom in these fancy restaurants, so...
That's not an actual custom here in Portugal, but I probably should have done that. Yeah, that was my bad.
Well, obviously you're not part of the Portuguese high society.
Well, speaking of high society, let me talk about the people who helped make this possible.
Oh, yeah. No, this Patreon of Internet Society. Patreon, that's right. We have 8 patrons after we launched last week, making a whole $36.55 per podcast. That is astounding. We've actually blasted past 2 of our milestones.
Yeah, we didn't think this one all the way through. I mean, our first one, we're going to get the robes. We're on that. All this is going to start 1st of next month. The second one is something I wanted to entice because I would say roughly 40% of our viewership, downloads, and donators on PayPal in the UK. It's like, all right, if we do this, we reach this goal, what we're going to do is once a month, schedule allowing, it might not, we want to say maybe the last show of the month, but it might end up being the first show whenever our schedules collide and the enzymes collaborate. We're going to start doing one, check this business out, at 3:30 Eastern Moon Time. So P-Man will actually have a night off, so to say. But we've already blown through that goal, so...
Yep. Oh, yeah. And we gotta find some prior robes as well.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun.
But coming up next...
What Pedro didn't really understand is we have to buy our own.
Right.
They what?
Thought so.
Yeah.
Coming up next, we do have a 50. So we can bring Sandy Martin, you know him, you hate him, you love him, back to the show when his schedule allows, when he's not out in the field of the fields. But we need to thank some of the people that throw some sweet Patreon love, man.
So thank you to Matt Hartley, who gave us about Tree Fitty. So we got to plug his shit. If you go to matthartley.com, you can check out his brand new podcast. Look at that strapping young lad with the upright sword. He's quite the sword swallower, isn't
he? Actually, you know, there's a fact about Matt Hartley most people don't know.
What was that?
He can fly.
What?
I know, right? I've seen it twice. It's but coming out tomorrow.
He's got a new podcast.
Yeah,
Married and Amused.
Matt and Amanda, they're going to be rocking that business, and by the looks of it, on the G Pluses, it's going to be done all with the Linux sauce. So that's brilliant. Also, we need to scream out to Nathan. Thanks for some love, Travis.
Yeah,
Jill,
Jill, the Linux girl.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big fan.
Michael.
Michelle.
Dan, who apparently wants to have sweaty, sloppy balls.
Yes, Mr. Swick.
He wrote my pledge to support LinuxGameCast is simply an attempt to seduce, unaccounted for.
It's the mustache. I keep telling you.
Well, I guess we have to put in that goal for Pedro prostituting himself. And of course, our favorite Weimar Glog 78 has donated $10 an episode.
It's brilliant.
And I hope he realized that it's per episode.
Nazis.
It was a good thing, though. It kind of caught us off.
It's not Nazis, man.
Right before the show, we're like, yes, we're really going to plug this new TN. Glog's like, fuck you all. And he cackles manically and runs off into the night, as he's off to do. It was brilliant. Thanks, everyone. We hope to be able to do this business every week, letting everyone know. One thing that we do want to say is we've kind of moved around, so anyone that was donating, if you want to switch over from PayPal, which would really be a big help, and we know it's a pain in the ass to set up a Patreon account if you don't already have one, but we do have one that's $2.50 per show, which breaks down to 10.
So about $10 an episode, and you get access to the show notes. It's more or less the same as the $10 monthly donation, but you can put in a cap, so...
Yeah. All right, so has the horse been up to anything this week?
The horse is trying to breach Antarctica and is not succeeding. It has to do with our Steam
Linux
update.
Geography. Who wants to have a geography lesson?
Well, I don't know. I sit and listen to you rattle off African countries for 30 minutes, man.
Hey, Eurasian and African countries, man. This is interesting. This is Steam download stats broken down by country. As you can see, the Arctic is just cleanly kicking the Antarctic's ass.
Yes.
Apparently, one interesting thing we did learn, though, is apparently Linux Guru has been fairly busy because he's apparently downloaded 288.5 gigabytes of stuff from Steam. Tanzania is... Wow. Okay, you see that island thing near the south coast of Africa?
Yeah, the country exactly to the left of it.
Left and up.
All right.
That's it. Tanzania. Geography, motherfuckers. I have learned where Tanzania is on a map. I can bust that out whenever now. It's great.
Yep.
Ladies, he's single.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. 288.5 gigs? That's Linux Guru's entire Steam library right there.
I mean, the US has 15.5 petabytes. Canada has 2.3. Apparently, France has a colony, literally in South America, called France.
Yes, you see Brazil, and then there's a little country there, France.
Despite Yemen's best efforts, no headway into best Korea. Coming up next, Shadow Warrior. This looks like a... So a testing depot showed up on steamdv.info. Seems to have some Linux content for Shadow Warrior, which if you
basically
don't know,
non-news at this point because it's still very much empty.
It is. For those of you who don't know, Shadow Warrior is a first-person hack and slash, kill everything type game.
Yeah, it's a reiteration of the old Shadow Warrior from the 90s. It used the Duke Nukem engine, the original one. Yeah.
Based on the trailer, it looks pretty fun. I'm looking forward to if this is going to come out. But
yeah, at the end of the day, it's always nice to see different companies, even if they're experimenting. At least they're experimenting. So.
Yeah.
And speaking of experimenting, you may remember Dead Island came to Linux not too long ago.
Never heard of it.
And now the guys behind Dead Island have been teasing Dying Light on the Linuxes. Yes, if you scroll down just a little bit there, Ben, you can see there's a
that's
penguin.
not the page for Dead Island, by the way. Those screenshots just look very similar.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a penguin on the pre-orders there, and they've officially confirmed it. They released a statement not too long ago, and they said, Dying Light is coming soon to SteamOS/Linux and Windows. Pre-purchase now to receive the exclusive... Yeah.
Look at the price on
it's official.
So one thing that stood out, that's standard for like a AAA game. I don't know.
Yeah.
One thing that stood out is if you scroll down to the system requirements, apparently under the SteamOS Linux section, they claim that this game will run on a Radeon R9 290. Sir, that is a bold claim. Do you care to back that up?
Very bold. I mean, the open source drivers for the R9 290 suck. And FGLRX, well, it's FGLRX.
Yeah.
All right, now that we're done.
I mean, it'd be nice if they figured it out and spread that moon magic throughout the land. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But,
Let's no longer rage against the dying of the light. Motorbike.
Let's rage against something else entirely.
Let me put this before we get started. All right, what is it? You never heard of it? A casual bike skills game for let's co-op with a bike. That basically it. I saw this show up on Steam, and my first thought was like, yeah. Never touching that, and not even a second later after I had that thought, boom, our little communication chat window pops up, and Pedro runs in and is like, guys, guess what I got? Here's the keys for the motorbike, pat me on the head. I'm like, oh, fuck. All right.
You literally asked why. I'm like, because it just showed up on Steam, and I kind of felt like playing some Elastomania type game. But we'll get to that a bit later on, since we're going to be throwing shares at it.
It's $4.99. I'll go ahead and tell you, with single player, multiplayer works. In case you don't watch the reviews, it requires the elusive Ubuntu 10.10 and
10.12.
10.12.
You know what? This game is actually a brilliant piece of science fiction. I'll get into that a little more in the review. But
right.
This shit will blow your mind. This is Man in the High Castle level. But oh yes, In Mind. So this is a free-to-play Oculus game that showed up on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you go in through the eye and you get to explore the brain. So it's like that Sega Saturn game, Microcosm, except without the trippy Rick Wakeman from Yes synthesizer solos. But I mean, like I said, it is cheap as free. So if you do have a Rift, check it out.
I don't really have a lot to say. I mean, neat that people are still playing with it. I think eventually, something I learned in the 90s, people, I don't care how advanced and fancy and flashy and how much of a lackady hairdo it has, people don't like wearing shite on their head for very long.
What about that Microsoft virtual reality thing? I mean,
I was that kind of like, I was like, huh. Then I was listening to the
augmented reality, not
Daily Tech
reality.
News show, and the people who actually played with the prototype pack, which was like massive and crushed your shoulder, and you couldn't really move. It's not been put into that business. So,
it's not streamlined.
No, but P-Man, tell us about this old days.
Caesarea, yeah. So back in the 90s,
so it's like a bunch of flashy colors.
No. It's Caesar as in the Roman Emperor, unfortunately.
Boo.
But yeah, back in the 90s, there
bacon.
was a series of games, the Caesar series, literally. And some nostalgia-ridden fuck on Steam decided, you know what? We liked Caesar 3 a hell of a lot, so we're just going to remake it. Literally. Pixel by pixel, because looking at those screenshots, it looks exactly like Caesar 3 used to look like. But
it's free to play. It's an early access free to play game.
It is free to play. It is early access free to play. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, if you're going to do early access, do it free to play. Have an option for people like, donate X amount, buy the game before it's out, whatever. Just let people play the game for free because it's, early access. But I actually started this up and it doesn't work very well. I didn't.
Well, I mean, it seems so demanding.
Yes.
It requires 1,500 processors.
The 1,500 processor. Yeah, but I didn't even have anyone living in the city yet, so I just started placing down the little flagpole saying that land was free. You could set up a house there or a tent or whatever. 2 of the vacant spots just burst into flames. Okay. Then when I had around 10 people living in the city, half of them turned into shadow citizens. They became pitch black.
Racist.
They wouldn't interact with anything. They would just walk up and down the town. And okay. And I tried several times to change the resolution, and the game threw a buggy dialogue message saying I need to restart it.
Okay.
Needless to say, it didn't work.
So you hung an onion on your belt because that was the style at the time. And...
I guess it's good that it's free because it's busted.
Well, let's change from that to something that
I didn't think I was going to survive through that story.
Should be free. Unfortunately, whoa.
No, it's not. But it's close enough, actually. 73% off. But yeah, this is Survivor Squad. It's door kickers meets Left 4 Dead and Daisy with roguelike elements. If that sounds familiar, that sounds familiar, it's because it's just like every other game on Steam coming out nowadays. Come on.
So somebody created figured out how to do the top-down thing and make a proximity with a gun and go pew, pew, pew and have random fucked up things run at you. Call it a game, slap a sticker on it, and go YOLO.
No, it's $2. So, well,
Steam
it's $8.99
101.
normally. Apparently they had to chop it down to $2.42 Canadian to get anyone to actually buy the game.
That's $2.42, yeah, so yeah.
No. Well, interestingly enough, this game does not work on NVIDIA cards, according to their system requirements.
Huh.
They require a Radeon
3850 or equivalent.
Well, no. Speaking of elusive things, it requires the 1.7 code to do.
Code to.
That is at least a $700 CPU, man. You're not.
I mean, regular people can afford a Core 2, but the Code 2, man, that has so much.
I mean, that is a step up from the 1500 processor.
Yeah, it's magnificent. I mean, fair enough. The horse runs on a Code 2.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We really need to upgrade it to the 1500, though. Mm-hmm. But coming up next, I don't remember.
So, J-Man, we need to pay some bills, Ben.
Yeah, you know what? I got a great idea for a truck dating site. Trucker dating site.
What's it called, Brad?
It's called trucker.biz.
.biz?
Biz. Give it the biz.
Well, what do people do on this magnificent site?
Well, if when you're in the middle of a long trip of changing gears and murdering prostitutes, sometimes you get a little lonely and you want to meet like-minded individuals. So I think this is a good site to facilitate that.
Possibly. I mean, so you've already registered your bitching domain name, though, correct?
I have, but I just need to find some hosting.
P-Man.
Don't know who to turn to.
It seems like maybe we could we help?
Yeah, we could. Perhaps I know a guy, he's kind of scaly. He likes to wear sunglasses or fart leaves every now and again. He seems cool, though. It's Schnappy.
Look at Schnappy. We're talking about HostGator right now because they're bringing this business to you, kicking us a few quid if you kick them a few. Unlimited web hosting, unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, easy control panel. Try that demo. Look at it. It's brilliant. 99.9% uptime at 20% off, starting at $3.96 a month. They got regular hosting, VPS hosting, dedicated hosting, even if you want to be your own host. And J-Man, all this is starting at 20% off.
If only there was some sort of magical, miraculous coupon that I could sell my firstborn.
Summon moon magic!
Sort of money discount.
Oh no!
That's the wrong thing! It's 3 chairs of awesome.
Yes, that's LinuxGameCast. Offer code of Seasonist. Enter LinuxGameCast FTW. That's for the winners and not for the win. That helps us out. We get a few quid out of that business.
And you get 25% off your hosting. Kind of awesome.
Oh my god. For sure we'll beat the communists with that kind of pricing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, now that the horse is back in its stable, it's the news. And this week, just to break the mold a little bit,
Just as a quick aside, you actually neighed last week during the news. Well, not the news, but the Steam Linux update. I heard him. And I had to listen to that so many times. You've scarred me.
Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah,
I do too. All right.
But yeah, back on track. To break the mold a little bit, we're not talking about drivers as the first bit of news this week, but it's close enough. It's the new GTX 960 from NVIDIA. They claim it's fast, efficient, and powerful. And again, it is the Maxwell architecture.
Not unlike your mom.
We'll get to that in a bit, but it's the Maxwell architecture. It's filling up the niche between the 750 Ti, which is around $150, and the 970, which is around $350. So yeah, there's still a $200 difference between those, and this one hits the $200 spot.
1024 CUDA chords. I mean, you're looking at it, basically it's going up against the 660 when pretty much better specs all the way across the board. And
it's about half of a 980. It's got half the CUDA cores, half the memory. It's half a 980.
Good for your mid-range gaming systems.
It's out there. Everyone's got 1 gigabyte MSI. And it's going, to mid to wet stinky caches. Asus has one.
Yep.
And
it's the Strix version, obviously.
But speaking of Strix versions.
Yeah.
Well, actually, before we switch to that story, I'm actually kind of curious to see if they're going to do something with the 950. I know the 750 Ti is using the Maxwell architecture. But what would be kind of cool is with every revision, they take like the 80 series of like a couple generations ago and make that PCI powered. That would be neat.
Yeah, it would.
Moving on to what were we talking about?
All right, something. I forget. NVIDIA GTX 970 has a rather serious memory allocation bug. This comes from LazyGamer.net. You'll find all this business in our show notes, as with everything else. Basically, according to a number of rather angry people over on the Reddits, Overclock and Guru 3D, they were running this clever VRAM benchmarking software. They discovered that when the last 500 gigajoules, the 700 VRAM gets accessed, megajoules, memory performance drops. I mean, it fucking nopes, Brad.
Tanks completely.
So you can't really get your 4 out of that business. Going beyond 3.5 VRAM usage in games like Hitman, Absolution, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, man, I don't think we ran that problem since we were all running 32-bit operating systems.
It just drops off.
But it keeps going. Tech report.
Oh, no!
Another reason.
Yep. Oh, yes.
Yeah,
so NVIDIA deigned to respond regarding that, and they said... Actually, no, this is just the comparisons.
Yeah, this is just a quick comparison. But, the PC Per, they did this.
Yeah.
And NVIDIA did respond.
NVIDIA did deign to respond. They say, oh, well, you see a similar performance drop in the 980 that is significantly less severe than what you see in the 970. And of the affected models specifically, they call out Pedro's card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The guys from Damage Report actually specifically call out the 970 Strix, which is the one I have. It was one of the cards they used. Yeah, it was one of the cards they used to do the testing. And you can see the 3D Mark Vantage Color Fill benchmark on their website. The graphic there, it's got the 980, the Strix, the R9 285, then the 780 Ti, all of that. But yeah, the reply from NVIDIA was lacking, mostly.
Basically, they threw this down. They're like, we understand there have been some questions about how the GTX 970 will perform when accessing the 0.5 gigabyte memory segment. The best way to test this, Very good. Then they give him, they give Ryan some numbers which were wrong.
Very much wrong. You had to go in.
And the ratios, in fact, do not match up. Odd, of course, because, NVIDIA, we love you. You're awesome, but that's press speak. So,
yeah, that entire statement was full of press speak. And if you look at in the PC Per article, they posted that same picture with the speed measurements. And you can see that the 970 at around, if it's using like, oh God, this font is horrible. That's the Windows command line for you.
While you're talking,
well, they're adding.
Look at this video. All right, this is it running under. Let me back that up just a bit. Now this is the 970 running, under the 3.5. Mm-hmm. Pretty good. I didn't back it up far enough. Pretty smooth. No issues. No that business.
So,
yeah. All right. Looking at that, that's a bit all right. And now let's try it with more than 3.5 gigajoules. Whoa, that looks a little.
Holy shit! What is the Matrix, Neo? There's a.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, but
hashtag epileptic.
The benchmark that guy ran, you can see that around the.
All you need now is like a picture of an evil clown just in between one of the frames.
Around the 3,000 megabytes of VRAM used, it's getting about 150 gigabytes per second on the VRAM. And as soon as it hits 3,200, it goes from 150 to 46. And then once you get up to 3,700, it goes down even further to 19 gigabytes per second.
One
thing we do need to bring up, though, is that it looks like this is actually a hardware problem. This is going to manifest on Windows, and if you have a game that will use up all that video RAM on Linux, please give us a copy.
We definitely want to play with that. But what we were talking about earlier, before we started recording, before we went live, is J-Man said, nothing's going to use... I was like, what about a year from now, Brad? We're going to see, 8 gig. So there's going to be 4 gig. It's going to be there. We're going to run into this problem.
So the moral of the story is, if you're thinking of buying a 970, don't go with the 770. Go with, and save yourself some headaches.
Or just buy a 980 with a 4K monitor. It's brilliant, trust me.
But or you could just stick with
if you don't have the money for a 980,
whine a whole bunch.
A 960.
Quit whining. All right.
But yeah. Whining around the corner, we have the new version of Wine. Development release 1735 is now available. And the things that are new with this release are the beginnings of support for OpenGL core context, about time, initial support for glyph placement and direct wire, some more WBEM objects, whatever that is, and a number of bug fixes, one of which kind of stood out to me. There was apparently a bug in Wine that wouldn't let you download games in Origin. Well, they fixed that. Why you would want to download Origin or even any game on Origin on Linux is beyond me, but you can now.
Otherwise, it just asks for your root password.
And root password. I mean, haven't you read the book of Origin, man? It's brilliant.
Alan or the man?
Genesis.
Alan.
That's
but
the
so it brings up an interesting question, because I asked Petra when was CSMT merged in, because I haven't actually built Wine in about a year.
CSMT, if I'm not mistaken, was the first version that supported was 1731 or 1732, one of those. But yeah, now if you open Wine CFG with one of the most recent versions, you just go to the staging tab, and there's a little tick box to enable CSMT. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So when was the last time you reinstalled Wine? Then you said like a month ago.
Well, I mean, that was the whole thing. I mean, the last overhaul of the render box was probably like 6 months ago, and maybe two and a half months ago, we had something we were testing on Wine, and I typed in Wine, and it said, "Oh, did you mean?" I was like, right. I mean, outside of Jim was like, maybe Skyrim. And I was like, no, I'm smart enough not to. No, bad, wrong.
Well, last time I actually installed Wine, not
Right.
Skype,
Yeah,
was when I built this PC back in November. I've kept it up to date, basically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
I sense a disturbance in my pants.
Giggity.
So, Dark Forces, Star Wars, the
Racist.
first game to introduce us to the beloved character Kyle Katarn, who doesn't exist anymore thanks to Disney. Yeah. Is available on GOG. For those of you who don't remember, this is actually a first-person shooter that revolutionized. It was basically the next step forward from Doom. It allowed you to move your gun up and down. It had some additional features that didn't really exist in first-person shooters, and now you can play it on Linux.
Could you jump?
Of course, this is a wrapped DOSBox port. So I do recommend you grab that RAR password that GOG is going to give you, extract those assets, and then run it in your operating system's specific version of Wine, because I guarantee you that is superior to the one that they are using, the version of DOSBox that is shipping with this GOG game.
I've heard some. I mean, a lot of people said that this was one of the better Star Wars games because it didn't deal with Force and bullshit. It's just like straight up pew 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 and all that business. And GOG, we got a hate and slightly hate less relationship with them. One thing I really wish they would get on is creating a Steam-like client, because I've just been spoiled by that, never having that before. Now I have everything's organized, and it's a bit brilliant. So
one thing I do kind of find weird, though, is a bit unexpectedly almost, a bunch of these Star Wars games are finding new homes on emulated platforms under Linux. Like you look at Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, was it Jedi Academy or Jedi Outcast? I don't recall which one. I think it was Jedi Academy.
It is Jedi Outcast 2 Jedi Academy, technically.
Ah, okay.
Oh yeah, and Hello
also,
Jar Jar Island Adventure. I remember that one.
Oh yeah, why didn't they open source that one?
I know.
Yeah.
All right, so
but you got
witching.
some strange brew.
It is
Still witching.
over here at Linux_Gaming. It's a virtual program did abandon fixing Witcher 2 for Linux. They're still hammering on the issues, fixing the really, really busted, what is it called? Eon wrapper? Yeah, that's totally better than Wine, and we didn't even know about CS.
Well, no, you can just go to portmyapps.com.
That's brilliant.
Yes.
But, I'm kind of mixed on this one, Brad, because I'm glad you guys are still working on this. I mean, still putting effort in getting it working and going, yeah, it's kind of fucked up. Sorry about that and all that business. But I don't know if they're doing it for any other reason than no one has touched that company for a Linux port since Witcher. I'm like, ew. Yeah.
Interestingly enough, though, they are uncovering kernel bugs. I threw in a
true.
link in the show notes to a GitHub article where Linus is actually responding to a bug filed by or a bug filed on the Witcher forums, or on the Witcher GitHub rather. And apparently, it's some feature they added in kernel 3.17. They thought, this might have some issues, but no one really uses this functionality. Bam, looks like Eon is apparently using that functionality to expose this bug. And he actually goes so far as to recommend that going forward, when you're testing kernels, actually run some Steam games. Because like NVIDIA had discovered, if you start fixing Wine bugs, if you start fixing Steam bugs, you start noticing the holes of your implementation, because games are going to behave in ways that normal programs do not.
Yep. Much more complex. It's going to break more often.
Good stuff. But are you ready to make John Romero your bitch? Because Daikatana, that masterpiece, that Mona Lisa of gaming, is finally open sourced, and you can play it on your Windows PC, on your Mac, on Linux, and even on FreeBSD. They provide you a FreeBSD port for your convenience. The one thing is, you're going to need the disk for Daikatana because you require the game assets. The engine is completely open source.
You can get it from GOG or Steam, so
you
can get the files. You
from
just have
Steam.
to do some magicry.
No, I was gonna say, who fucking kept the CD from this turd?
you mean who bought it?
Coaster, man, coaster.
Yeah, this is way back in the dark ages. And I remember reading all the buzz about it and all that, and I was like, I think at one point Loki was starting to port it or something like that. I could be
And then
completely
and that's the reason
incorrect.
they went out of business.
Right.
Yeah, Daikatana killed Loki.
It's like Pedro volunteering to help you with your distribution project. He's just bad juju, man.
You know, I never, no one actually in my circle of friends as a child actually played Daikatana. I had not heard about this game until I was an adult.
Well, it's there. It's a thing. I guess if you hate yourself enough, go for it.
Yeah.
They
Go
claim to
spend
have
some money on
fixed most
Daikatana
of
so
the
you can
bugs,
experience it yourself.
So,
All right.
Hey,
I don't
you know, now that it's open source, maybe someone will fix it and turn it into a real game.
they
That's a
claim to
project
have
for someone.
already done that. That's the whole.
Speaking of
selling.
open sourced, SS.
Speaking of
13.
something awful, this is Space Station 13. It's a 2D RPG or MMO that apparently is frequented a lot by something awful goons. Basically what's happened is the developers have decided to pull a natural selection. They said, we cannot hope to maintain this project, and it's just too much work, so we're going to release the source code. You guys have fun. Because we all know how well this kind of stuff turns out, right?
Wow, this looks
Yeah.
like a not even isometric version of the really bad Double Fine game.
Yeah.
Space base, yeah.
That is the key difference.
B-Man,
As far as I can tell.
I always did my best to stay away from the something awful forums, and the moment I read that, I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to touch this one.
Mhm. So, coming up next, we explore the crazy fantasy worlds that come from very, very subtle and brilliant science fiction.
physics.
This week, we are reviewing a very special game. It is a brilliant piece of science fiction in which the gravitational constant of the universe is actually much, much lower. We call this game Motorbike. It's by Back No Games, and it's built on the Unity. You can pick it up for $4 on Steam, or what was it again? 75 cents on the Android Marketplace?
Mhm.
Yep, 75 cents.
75 cents on the Android Marketplace. And like I said, it is a science fiction game in which the gravitational constant of the universe is completely different value, and it plays with how that affects life on Earth. And of course, with all games like this, they must face the one true authority, the CHAIRQUISITION. One chair means that it's shit, 2 chairs means that it's meh, 3 chairs means that it's pretty good, and 4 chairs means that it's, wait for it, amazing! And of course, we have our categories of Doom, mixed with working, shiny sounds, controls, and food. So, let's kick this off. Did this game just completely blow your mind, Ven?
That was my mind being blown, J-Man. All right, made with the working. Where did you run it on, then, you might ask? On the Ubuntu 1404 LTS, 980 powered, 4K displayed, with 8 gigajoules of RAM. Stick with me. This is going to be the important part. So,
How much swap do you have, by the way?
you just got 6 gigs. And we'll get to that in a minute. Well, let's just go ahead and say this. Some days I do genuinely wonder, because I've gotten a lot of static. It's like, why do you have a swap file? And I genuinely have questioned myself about that several, times, and maybe even Thursday I was thinking about it. But turns out Thursday was definitely not that day, because me and J-Man, we knew it had a little bit of memory leak, and a lot of people were saying around level 10 or 11, it would actually nope on you, and that was a common thing. But in 12 minutes, we'd set up, we get the multiplayer, and we're just idling, like, okay, maybe. Then I hear J-Man's audio breaking up over the conversation. Then it goes, shit. Boom, get top open, see J-Man drop. His computer nopes. And I caught it at 7.8 gigajoules of memory, and it was already hitting the swap. Just at idle at the multiplayer screen, I was able to kill it. Didn't note my box. Swap file. Ladies and gentlemen, YOLO. So if it makes with a working, I'm going to give this business one mothering chair, because that's bad juju.
Oh yeah, no. When you buy a piece of software like a video game, you expect that it actually runs and was coded properly, and is not a giant memory leak that just calculates prime numbers and sticks them in heat memory and then doesn't clean them out. I mean, I was just sitting there. I'm watching the frame per second counter going on the top left hand corner through a Steam overlay, and it's like I look away to look at some Reddit link or some YouTube video that Ben sent me. Look back, I'm at 1 frame a second. I'm like, oh, I remember hearing something about a memory leak. Switch to PTY. And then the machine just went completely non-responsive, at which point I had to basically reboot my computer. So, because this game is a memory leak, and because you can't follow perfectly good programming practices that avoids this exact scenario, I'm going to give this 1 chair.
Yeah. Pretty much the exact same thing for me.
I should bring up, this is a hex core system, an AMD 1090Ti running with 16 gigs of RAM, and it ate all of them.
Every single one, yeah. On the Amiga, I have 8 gigs of RAM. On the FX 8370E and GTX 970 Strix, which I used to be proud of. Now, not so much. But yeah, there is very much a memory leak. Certain levels just outright crash the game.
You don't have to worry about it now with the Strix, because it'll just not work.
But yeah, you can sort of work around it by adding LC underscore all equals C percentage command percentage to the run options on Steam. It'll stop it from doing that stupid memory chugging kind of thing that it's doing. I honestly couldn't be arsed to run it through GDB. I think my computer would probably catch fire at that point. So yeah, for me, 1 chair.
All right. So this is actually a first. I don't think we've ever had 1 chair for Mix with the Working. So there you go. Up next, Shiny and Sounds.
All right. The shinies are about what you expect with this lot. I mean, trust me. Every one of these screenshots are lies. It doesn't. Well, that's about accurate. It's not lighted all that well, and it looks like a PS3 game that was like maybe designed for like a 480p display, or some business like that.
Perhaps.
Yeah, nothing that's really going to blow your eye pussies out of your brain meats. So let's talk about sounds. Wow. I did not. These other 2 heathens, they're going to talk about static. I didn't get the static. I got the full experience of the glorious sounds of.
I didn't know they licensed Nickelback for this game.
I know, right? That's it. I mean, it's like laughable. And I think P-Man will describe it better about maybe how they recorded that. But it's like, what? Really? I just muted it. Even on our players, fortunately, I muted it for us, and I kept it in there so you'll be able to get all that glory when we release that later on. But
in between the haggard screams of agony.
That's better sounds than this game could ever possibly fucking deliver. But there were sounds, and it had visuals, and the visuals were not corrupted. So I'm forced to give it 2 chairs out of principle, J-Man.
Oh yeah, I had like full-on Unity buffer underrun crap with the sound. And it would just not go away. Normally with most games, if I just wait it out, Pulse Audio will get its shit together and realize, oh, I'm supposed to output noise, not static. But you gotta love the resolution options in this game, and the video options, of which there are 0. At least they did not go with the default Unity screen of configuration.
Brad, you could just stretch that screen.
Yeah, what they provided is fairly lacking in terms of, any configurable options. Plus, you don't have any resolution options. It just stretches. And so that ends up looking super good on your 1080p display. Oh, yeah. And, of course, what music I could hear over Ben's system was just kind of meh. But it does show up on the screen, so I gotta give it 2 chairs for that, at least.
Yeah, on the technicality that one chair means that it does not work at all. You can't see a damn thing. You probably can't hear anything either. Which, after playing this game, I kind of wish I couldn't hear it because the sound cackles and pops like crazy. It's horrible. It wasn't even an underrun because the moment I started hearing it, I'm like, is that Pulse Audio acting up? I opened up Pafu Control. No, the stream's stable. It's not crashing and coming back at like the underruns usually do. And it is using Pulse, not the Also plugin, so what the hell? The bike sounds... It sounds like someone recorded the engine noise with a freaking 12 kilobit per second cell phone. It's
it's really, just any given trip to Pedro's bathroom on a loop.
Yeah, pretty much. And the music is like a 30-second song for each of the stages on a loop. Literally. It's horrible. And at some points, it doesn't even loop. It just stops. And all of a sudden, it's quiet now. I can still hear the stupidly low-quality engine, but it's quiet. And the graphics, well, they're about as stock Unity graphics get. So, again, on the technicality, 2 chairs.
Yeah, 2 chairs for shiny and sounds. And now, control. And we get to see what kind of physics or what kind of laws of physics govern a place where the gravitational constant is much, much lower. Ben, care to elaborate?
It's the gravitational constant of YOLO. Here's the thing. I first loaded this up. Second, I started and I was like, oh, I remember this game when it was called Xmoto. True story. Because it basically ripped the controls out of that. And Xmoto predates this game, which was originally released on the PS3 with controller organ support. But I played with this and I realized this is like fuck you because that's why controls. They're intentionally fucked. And it's like a fuck you physics type. Just okay. I was angry at first, but since they sent us the keys, I was like, I'm going to play this for a little bit. And I was like, all right. I see how this make people angry. And
you can totally see that on the players.
Yeah, well, when we release that, you'll love it. But yeah, I got it. I think they're solid for a keyboard, and I actually would have given this 4 fucking chairs if it had worked with a controller organ, because this would be a brilliant party game. Plus, you would have something in your hand to either bludgeon your opponent or yourself, if need be, at that particular time. So, being the heretic of the bunch here, I'm going to give this one a solid 3 on the controls.
Oh man, that's incredibly generous, Ben, I have to say. Yeah, no, maybe I have to agree with you. Maybe controller support could have saved it, but we'll never know. Needless to say, the controls, based on the physics of this game, the controls just don't work. Just holding down the left button accelerates you too fast to go through 90% of the obstacles. So you're going with this weird sort of finger walking activity on the up and down arrows so that you can get to the right speed. And if you're not tilted the exact right way using the left and right arrows, you're just going to either fall on your head and...
Hashtag barrel.
I like how when you fall on your back, the rider just sort of lies down and just has the most defeated look on. Just like, oh, fuck it. It's brilliant. And you're going to see that a lot. Just because the controls facilitate that. They're complete garbage. Yeah, I don't know. I have to give this 1 chair on just the principle. I would give it 2 because they actually do work as described, but dear God, they just don't work.
Yeah, here's the thing. Dear Back No Games, you see, when interfacing with a PC, you use these to navigate around the interface. It's a mouse. It's what they're called. Usually, when you're dealing with a PC, you're not using one of these, touch screens as they're called. You're not using those.
Totally saw your grinder app.
Are you meeting some nice gentlemen on there?
UI design is not just about making the graphics look pretty. It's about making the UI itself usable. which yours is not. You have to navigate through some fucking confusing menus to even do
getting
anything.
Multiplayer requires a leap of faith and random clicking.
Yeah. And
it requires
it's horrible.
It's
really, really horrible. And you guys already mentioned it. There are keyboard controls, and they do have both WASD and the directional arrows mapped. Okay, so let's say I want the reset button on something closer to the arrows or WASD, and I want to remap them. Nope, not getting it. No remappable keys. One fucking chair.
All right, so that's one whole. No, that's 2 chairs for. Wait,
that's just the
that's
one.
1 chair for control. And up next and up last is Fun. Ben, did you enjoy yourself?
If it wasn't for that
just cut to the point in the players where you're just screaming.
Actually, it was a good run of being like, Brad, no, Brad, come on, Brad, live for me, Brad, you have it in you, Brad, come on. And he finally landed. Yes. If it wasn't for the massive memory leak of fuck you, that's why, that you don't know when that's going to nope your box or your mate's box. And I would say maybe, I could give this 3 chairs of fun because it is frustrating as fuck all. You need somebody that you can scream back and forwards with. Split screen showing the progression of both would have been better because the shadow thing is like jerk, 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 jerk. You don't really get the fulfillment of watching somebody else get curb stomped by the physics in this game as fluidly as one might like. But it is always interesting to watch both shadows pile into a ball of nope right there next to each other at the same point. That's kind of interesting. Again, if they had added, support for your controller organ, I would have been good with that. Steambox game, party game, something like that. But they didn't. At the end of the day, take that shot. I'm going to say, for the price, and maybe if they fix that multiplayer thing, but even if you're willing to risk that, you can get 2 chairs worth of fun out of this nonsense of a game. So that's what I give it.
You might be able to do that. I didn't see that at any point in the 20 minutes I spent playing and the other 40 minutes I spent trying to mitigate memory consumption on my system. I mean, I don't even know what to say about this game anymore. Literally, my exasperated automatopoeias from the players compose my entire opinion of this game. It's just terrible. It's awful. Maybe split screen would have helped out so you could see your friends fail as you're sort of waiting for yourself to respawn. Maybe if they actually had decent collision detection and grazing one of these razor blades does not remove your entire motor capabilities. There's just so many maybes about if the game did this and this and this, it might have been redeemable, but it didn't, Brad. So it's just terrible. It's awful. Do not pay money for this. Do not pay 75 cents on the Google Play Store for this. Just put it away. Just back off. Back off. Leave it in the woods. Douse some trees in gasoline, throw a match, and then hopefully Smokey the Bear will find it and die from just terrible gameplay. I don't even know where I'm going with this. This game sucks. 1 chair.
Yeah, okay. I got this game. It showed up on Steam. I'm like, okay, it looks kind of like ass, but hey, it's a Trials game, and there is no Trials for Linux, so yeah, let's give it a bash. I started playing around level 7, level 8. I was getting so frustrated that I couldn't get past a certain point, and I just lost it. I literally lost my shit. I started laughing maniacally, and whenever the rider just fell from some stupid physics fuck up, because there are a lot of those, I just laugh maniacally. So I guess it's not all bad if it managed to make me look like even more of an insane person than usual. it can't be all that bad. But like Jordan already said, it actually is that bad. But for me, hey, it got me to laugh. 2 chairs.
That's kind of like saying Battlefield Earth isn't a bad movie per se. I mean, I laughed at points of it.
Kinda, yeah.
You know, testicular cancer isn't that bad. I only have to lose 1 genital. That's
But that doesn't make me laugh, though. That doesn't count.
That's 1 chair for fun. And we get our first 1 chair game in a while for the Chairquisition.
First
so we're going
1
to
chair game of 2015.
and they're going to have their way with the rotting corpse of Motorbike.
Well, I guess saying it's like cancer, but it's the good type of cancer. Still cancer, though. I don't think
it's the kind of brain cancer that pushes in the back of your brain and makes you giggle.
Coming up next, we finally discover who Brad is. Well, we found out who that was weeks ago, but apparently people haven't been paying attention.
Boys and girls, I am very disappointed. Every week, this segment comes and I keep asking, send us your hate mail. I mean, it's easy to do. All you need to do is go to LinuxGameCast.com, push the contact button on the navbar, fill out the form, prove you're smarter than Ven's thing there, and we'll feature your thing. Just, hate mail. Criticize us. Give us feedback. Try and plug your shit. But if you are trying to plug your shit, and it happens to be, say, a game that works on Linux or is going to work on Linux, you need to remember to include a demo, alpha, beta, prototype, something, or even a Steam key for the early access version, anything.
Wait, Brad. I just developed my new game, Brad, and here's 1 key.
Yeah, 1 key probably is not going to cut it. You're going to, 1 key, we sort of kind of maybe mentioned the game, but if you really want us to talk about your game properly, you need to send us 3 keys. 3. 3 of us. And
greedy.
if we hit the $50 stretch goalie thing on the Patreon campaign, we are going to need 4 because the Sandman will be joining the team.
You can find out more about that at patreon.com/LinuxGameCast.
Yes. So, it's the hate mail, ladies and gentlemen. So, first up is Dmitry.
Our favorite Russian fan.
He sent email right the other day and he said, "Dear Pedro, I sort of troubleshooting minor issue with my cover."
Sorry, no, that's troubleshooting.
Troubleshooting, yes. He's got cover plus, just like me. See, right here. This one, yes. And he says, I was dude who suggested you this mouse in hate mail long time ago. Anyways, shit just works, register trademark copyright with this mouse. However, one complimentary option with the driver doesn't work. You can set notification over GUI or sound that you changed profile. Both don't work for me. I was in contact with developer. I have no way of reporting issue as I use Gen 2 and not...
Soviet Russia runs you.
It's Arch with like the reverse Russian bar.
If those options work for you, check this native Linux tool, please, and let me know. Please let me know what do you use for window manager and if you use Pulse/ALSA. Regards, Dmitry, aka Dr. Jones, aka Dimko. So,
AKA the artist formerly known as Prince.
Hashtag Putin.
Hashtag Putin. I actually did try it, and the profile does change if you use the mouse key combinations to change the profile. It works, it changes the profile, but it does not send a notification either through KDE's notification thing, or it doesn't beep. The audio thing doesn't work either. I tried with both ALSA and Pulse. Wouldn't work.
So explain to me exactly what's going on, because when you do your whole Russian accent comment, my brain just shuts down and I hear the Meow Mix song in my head and my knees. So
yeah, these mice have an option to switch between different profiles. You can literally set like 6 different profiles in the firmware itself, where the buttons are all switched around, or you like one profile for one specific game, another profile for another, or like that. You can switch them on the fly. And there was supposed to be an option to send, say, a notification, one of those little pop-up windows on XFC that would show up on the corner of the screen saying, oh, now you're using this profile. Mm-hmm. Or you could maybe had a beep or some jingle that made a sound to say, okay, you've changed profiles. And neither one of those options in the drivers works. I don't know, maybe it's something they haven't updated in a while, but it really doesn't work.
That's fascinating. Up next, who is Brad? Asked Tyler.
You know, I just want to go ahead and explain this once and probably again later down the road. Brad is a way of life. Brad.
Seriously, we've explained this several times over the course of the show. If you do not know who Brad is, you are now Brad.
Brad is like ass mode. It is a way of life. Isn't that right?
Brad is like SpaceX.
You done goofed, Brad. You done goofed.
Because Schindler's pissed.
And on that bombshell, let's cue the music. You can always find us live somewhere around at 9:30 Eastern Standard Moon Time. We're always there talking the business. Check us out in Chat Realm Dynamic, the worst of the worst, the trolliest of trolls, the zombie demon hordes of the interwebs. And the other 6 days of the week, we're at Chat Realm Static. Just head over to LinuxGameCast.com. You can find us on the G+, on the Twitters, and all that business. And speaking of that noise, I'm at Vinstone, plus Vinstone, cleverly disguised on the G+. What's up?
I'm Irvin Rommel, and you can find me at The Burning Fool on Twitter, or plus Jordan Swung on the Google+.
I don't really make that much noise, but you can always find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter, or plus Peter Mateos on Google+.
And remember, you know, the only reason to donate to the Patreons is to try to get making with the sexy times with the P-Man.
Yes,
of course.
According to
Mr.
Dan
primary
Swick.
motivation. If you just want to help us out, that's secondary. But we are whoring Pedro out.
Yes, repeatedly. Over
it's
the
high in
internet.
vitamin C.
It's not pretty.
That's all the oranges.
Sí, señor. ¿Quieres laranjas? ¿Te puedo agarrar laranjas?
Come on, piss off Argentina.
I fucking missed this for the fucking for the what we're doing this week. I just remembered because this happened on like fucking Monday. So I had to do an interview for my work. I had to like interview someone for a Linux admin position, and I walk into the room. My first question, of course, is going to be like, "What distribution do you run?" And the minute I said that, I'm like, "This person's an Arch user," and the person's like, "Yeah, I use Arch Linux." I'm like, "God damn it, I can smell them now."